I don't think there's too many can argue with the fact that if FAIR was not raising the issue of the innocent victims, there's no other organisation out there that I know of. Now, there's other organisations out there who are working with victims, fair enough, but I don't know of any other organisation that is raising the issue of the innocent victims the same as ourselves. We have numerous issues going on. We have Libya going on. We have the whole issue of justice going on. We have the issue of the Irish government holding them to account. We have the King's Mills massacre, which is not only the 10 people who were murdered that night and the one who was seriously injured, but that incident, that gang is linked into over 100 murders. There's no ifs, buts or maybes about it. They are linked to 100 odd murders. We're not going to sit back any longer and let these people write history. The other night, just before I move on from the other night, or for this last number of nights, when the victims have been meeting in here, some of them have had to put extra jumpers on and wear their overcoats because there was no money even to buy oil to heat the building. That's how we're getting treated, like tramps. We will be here, irrespective. And if we have to put on 2 overcoats, or the 88-year-old pensioner, I think it's one of our oldest, well, no, sorry, it's 190. If she has to put on 2 overcoats, she'll put on 2 to come to the meetings, because it's the only enjoyment she gets. To move on from that, we've been left for no choice but to hold a parade or a walk through South Armagh along the route that the minibus took the night that they were stopped and taken out and massacred by the IRA. And the reason we're walking from the factory along that route is to raise awareness of the injustice that has happened to the Unionist, Protestant, innocent victims, whatever you want to call them, in that area. Because although there was 10 people or 11 people in that minibus, 10 shot dead and 1 injured, there's numerous other people connected to that factory who was also murdered, or people who were married to individuals who had their husbands murdered who worked in that factory. So that is why we will be holding that parade. Now, there'll probably be maybe 4 or 5 bands along. We haven't decided how many bands we'll take along with us. And people say, why do you take bands? It's part of our culture. It's part of who we are. And if you don't like it, well, that's tough. If they can walk along the road in Camlock to commemorate the murderers of our people, and indeed the murderer who was probably involved in the King's Mill massacre, if they can turn out in their thousands and walk along the roads and play their Republican songs, don't insult us by saying we can't do the same when we go out to remember our dead. The other thing we'll be doing that day, it will be the first day that we will have brought a lambeg drum out. And that lambeg drum has the names of all the men, the local men, murdered in that area who were members of the UDR. To UDR. It has their names on it. It has a painting of the UDR patrol on the front of it, and also Tullyvallen Orange Hall. We would quite happily carry that in remembrance of the men who served in that community. We'll have, like I say, maybe 4 or 5 bands. We'll have a few people, 50 or 100 people, whatever it is, victims carrying photographs, carrying banners, calling for justice, calling for equality. That's all we're looking here, equality and justice. For years we've heard Republicans shouting about the injustice they've suffered. 300 million spent on Bloody Sunday and what has went on up there. Now, I'm not going to even get into the rights and wrongs of it, but I know one thing: there's not one of our people was involved in any riots, throwing any petrol bombs, or any activity like that, most of them, matter of fact, nearly every one of them was out doing a day's work whenever they were mothered, going to it or coming home from doing a day's work. So we make no apologies. But these people aren't content. This 300 million that's been spent on them, they've now started up again. They're now started another organisation where they're going to call for prosecution of the soldiers involved that day. What did they tell us for years? All they wanted to know was the truth. I believe the soldiers were hung out to dry. I don't believe that what happened that day is the facts that has come out. But again, we could all live with that. But we will not accept the demonisation of the paratroopers or of the British Army. Nobody brought them there except the people who were carrying out the riots that day. The Mart McGuinnesses of this world, who was walking about with a Thompson machine gun, that's who brought the army into Londonderry. So if they want to blame anybody, blame them. Go after them.